So you're thinking about moving to Denver, Colorado, but you're not sure Denver's the right place for you. Maybe you're considering some of the suburbs around Denver. Well, this video is for you because today we're going to talk about Westminster, Colorado, which is a northwest suburb of Denver, and we're going to get into it right now. So if this is your first time to the channel, make sure that you go ahead and hit that subscribe button below so that you can be the first to know everything there is to know about living in Denver, Colorado. I'm Reed Puser. My business partner Robin Gerlach and I were part of the Roots Home Sales team. We get calls every day from people just like you. And regardless of whether you're moving in next month or next year, please reach out. Let us know. You can shoot us an email, give us a call, text us. We're happy to set a Zoom, whatever is the easiest for you, because we want to connect with you and be your local resource here in Denver, Colorado.
And the number one pro of living in Westminster, Colorado is the parks and the trails in Westminster. I actually just moved to Westminster about a year ago, and that's been one of my favorite things of living in the neighborhood or in the area of Westminster is that I am able to hop on my bike, get over to a trail rather quickly. It can get me over to the 36 corridor, takes me up into Broomfield. Really, the trails and the access to trails surprised me when I moved there. I also like to pick my daughter up from school and take her to a local park or a playground. And I've met other parents there, and you could just see that other parents living in Westminster really value the access to the parks and the playgrounds. Some of my favorites are the Cotton Creek Park off 112th, as well as Westfield Park. Those tend to be the favorite playgrounds for my daughter, so that's where we end up frequenting a lot after her school. But yeah, that access to the parks and the trails and the recreation is incredible. The Rec Center in Westminster, just off the City Park Westminster Rec Center on 104th and Sheridan is where I go. That's my gym. I go there to run, to work out, and I see, the firemen go over there to work out as well. Other folks in the community are there. And so it just really brings the community together. Everyone's recreating really well. So I would say that's the number one pro of Westminster, Colorado.
So the number two pro about living in Westminster, it's gotta be the views. If you've driven in Westminster, especially driven east or west on 120th or 112th, you have undoubtedly seen the iconic Flatirons coming right out of the ground near Boulder. Sunsets are unbelievable to drive home when you're living in Westminster. There's always something to see. You're up on a hill kind of overlooking, so you've gained some elevation, and you can see uninterrupted going west towards the foothills, the Flatirons, and those Rocky Mountains.
Number three pro for Westminster has to be the location. You're pretty much right between Denver and Boulder. So what you do is you take the 36 corridor, which is taking you from here's Denver, here's Boulder, and you take this 36 corridor, which is the connecting freeway that takes you from there. And that really is the center of Westminster. If you get off 36 on 104th, you're right over to the Westminster Rec Center, and you're connected over to a lot of the nice neighborhoods of Westminster. But it's really just ideally located right in between Denver and Boulder. So you can get to Denver in 15-20 minutes. You can get to Boulder in 15-20 minutes. Pretty ideal if you ask me. That would be the number three pro for Westminster.
So the number four pro about living in Westminster is affordability. It's actually quite a bit more affordable to live just a little bit further north out of the city center of Denver up in Westminster. In fact, average sale price for a home in Westminster recently from Denver Metro Association of Realtors is right at $565,000. If you go down to Denver, average sale price right around $699, just south of $700,000. So you definitely see a lot more value in living in Westminster.
The fifth pro of living in Westminster, Colorado is that it tends to be, or it has a feeling of being a safe suburb. And what I mean by that is, I was looking recently at the city council members or folks who are trying to get elected to the city council, and it was something I got in the mail, and it was kind of like, get to meet this person or get to know this person. And one of the questions that it asks these folks is, what do you love about Westminster? What do you not love about Westminster? And unanimously, every one of these folks, and there was 9 of them that were running for 3 city council spots, all 9 of them said that Westminster is safe, or had this feeling of being safe. And that is just something that kept ringing through. And I mean, I live in Westminster now with my family, and I would agree. I mean, it definitely feels very safe. So if you're looking for a very family-friendly city outside of Denver, Westminster is your spot. The number one con of living in Westminster is that the water bills are higher than most of the cities in Denver and around Denver. For example, our water bills in Westminster are twice as high as they are in Broomfield. Now, that's not ideal, right? Part of the reason behind that is the water treatment plant and the water facility in Westminster is pretty old, built in the 60s and 70s, and the city council, not to get too political, but the city council really hasn't found a way to resolve this. And so there's multiple methods in how folks want to go about updating or building a new water plant, a water treatment facility in Westminster. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but at the end of the day, the water bills are higher in Westminster than a lot of the other cities in the Denver metro area.
The number 2 con of living in Westminster is there's not really a historic old town area. There's not really like a downtown area, although there is an area where they've been developing over the last like 10 years or so. It's mixed use. It's right off like 88th and Sheridan. That also is where Highway 36 intersects. So it's a very convenient place to get on the highway and go up to Boulder or to Denver. And they have some really cool units in there. They've got some mixed use with restaurants on the first floor and then apartments and condos above that. But there isn't that real historic district that you come to love and feel. And that's the number 2 con of Westminster.
All right, the number 3 con of living in Westminster, Colorado is that the restaurant scene isn't super robust. So it's a neighborhood community, it's a suburb, you have a lot of chain restaurants. Now with that said, now that I've lived there for about a year with my family, we do have a couple favorites. One of them is the Spice of India, right off 120th in Pecos. If you like Indian food, that's a really good spot. My family and I, we also really enjoy pho, which is a Vietnamese stew or a soup. That's over off 120th in Maine. So a lot of the restaurants that you might find are along 120th. But again, there's not an expansive scene of family-owned restaurants in Westminster. I've only lived there for a year, so maybe we just haven't found the right ones yet, but Westminster is definitely not known for its culinary scene.
The number 4 con about living in Westminster, it's a little bit noisy. And the reason I say that is because the southern part of Westminster actually goes on both sides of Highway 36, which is a major highway going from Denver to Boulder. That area of town is pretty dense, it's a little older, and it's certainly a little bit noisy. So if road noise is not for you, let's not get you a place in South Westminster.
And the number 5 con for Westminster, it's a little bit further from the mountains. So especially when we're comparing to Arvada, Golden, Lakewood, Wheat Ridge, Littleton, those areas, those municipalities tend to be closer to the mountains. You have quicker access. With Westminster, it's a kind of a funny shape on the map, but you are close to the 36, which can get you to Boulder. That's still about a 20 to 25 minute drive minimum to get over to the mountains near Boulder, like the Flatirons, Chautauqua. But if you're trying to get to the mountains, down by Golden or off I-70 or off 285, you're gonna be about a 30 to 40 minute drive minimum from Westminster. So that would be the 5th con, I would say, of living in Westminster. All right, so that wraps up our 5 pros and our 5 cons of living in Westminster, Colorado. Hopefully you got something valuable here. If you have any questions about Westminster that we didn't really cover in this video, please reach out to us. Again, whether you're moving here in a month or in a year, you can give us a call, you can shoot us a text, send us an email. We're happy to connect with you and really set you up to make a smooth transition for your move here to the Denver metro area, whether it's in Westminster, Arvada, Lakewood, any of our areas here in the Denver metro area. We want to help you and be a resource for you here on the ground. Again, Robin Gerlach with Reed Puser, the Roots Home Sales team. Reach out to us anytime and we look forward to connecting with you.